Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. Today we talk about a special topic. Somebody check Facebook, make sure Facebook is good, TikTok is good, everything is good, good. Today we have a special topic. We're talking about something very, very, very special. Today is, what is wealth? I think a lot of people misdiagnose what wealth is, what's successful. I think people live so in the moment that they fail to plan for their future. A lot of times you understand when you're dealing with a wealthy mind is planning for its later self when its later self can't take care of its later self. The unwealthy is the ones who have fun, live in the moment, enjoying life, and then when they get older, they realize that they should have made better choices economically. I realized life is about leaving things to the next generation so the next generation don't have to work as hard as you. Sometimes I tell parents, are you really a great parent? They say yes. I say, no, you're not. They say, why not? I said, because every time you tend to spend money, that is more money or more labor your children will have to do. The more money you waste, the more labor your children would have to do. You don't hear me. The more money you waste, the more labor your children will have to pay. So sometimes we have to understand that generationally we inherit a poverty situation. So my mom could have ran 5 laps in a race out of a race of a lap of 100 laps, right? But now the expenses, the inflation, the cost of living has gone up so much to the point that now you realize that the money that my mother had in her generation is feasibly small comparable to today. So I'm asking this question today on my live. What is wealth? You see how people define wealth: cars, clothes, shoes, bags, material things that don't gain no wealth, no worth, or no nothing else. They said almost 0% of blacks are literally leaving the wealth to the next generation. It's starting to get worse and worse. They put a study up, they said by 2053, blacks will have a net worth in America at a median of zero. Of zero. Because when you look at the next generation, right? I am a father, so I see my next generation. If my child don't realize that economically he has to be more mature because the cost of living is so much more expensive, then my child won't succeed. You have to be more disciplined. In order to survive in this market, you have to be 50 times more disciplined, right? It's the lack of discipline. A lot of people don't realize how undisciplined they are. It's good. They're very undisciplined. Why do you say that? Because looking now in today's society, most people do not save, right? They don't save. We talk about the rainy days. We talk about the storms that's to come. But why would you wait for a storm to start looking for a raincoat? Why would you wait for a flood to look for a life raft? There's a story, right? And I want y'all to hear this, right? There was a man. And the man says simply this, and this is to my God-fearing people who take the religious thing a little too serious when it comes to decisions that they're not making. There was a man. He said, I'm going to stay in my house throughout the flood. The village people came to the house and said, yo, get in the car with us. We should leave. Because I'm telling you right now, this flood is going to be severe. He said, no, God got me. He stayed in the house. All of a sudden, the water comes up to about the second level in his house. He looks out the window, the whole village is flooded. That same village people decided to go back for him with a boat. They said, yo, get in the boat with us. We're going to take you out of here. He said, nah, God got me. So those village people leave again. The third time, the village people came back. He is on the roof of his house. Whole area flooded. They say, yo, get in the helicopter. He looked at the village people and said, God got me. And you know what ultimately happened to him? He died. And when he got to heaven, he said to God, I thought you was going to save me. He said, I send you 3 different opportunities to be saved, but you didn't want to hear it. And I genuinely believe that you can throw a person a life raft, but the question is, are they willing to grab it? You can swim or try to save a person, but the question is, do they want to be saved? When you look at economics, you understand that economics buy you your freedom. Finance is about freedom. True wealth is freedom. It's not about looking like you have money. I watch young people nowadays go out to eat more than anybody else in this world. The sad part about them is the fact that they live at their parents' house for free and they think that they're more lit than they truly are because they're living on their parents. In most cases, the parents, when they have children that live in their house, their boyfriends and their girlfriends, say my son's girlfriend, his girlfriend in his relationship only worked because of me. Because of me. Because I'm not charging him anything. And if I started charging him, he couldn't have money to make it work. When you talk like this, people get offended, but it's called the truth. Logic is 1 + 1 = 2. But the young minds can't process this information. They believe that they're a lot more successful than they truly are because of their parents. I've noticed in today's society that we've allowed our children to not suffer as much as us, ultimately giving them a handicap. We thought by giving them actually a jump start or a head start, it actually made them weaker. They say struggle creates character, but a lot of their characters are weak because they don't know what struggle is. They don't know what struggle is. You try to make their life a lot easier, but yet and still they work against you. It takes a foolish mind to see somebody walk out of a test with 100, they give you an answer sheet and you still put whatever answer you want. The person just got 100 on the test. You're going in to take the same test, and this is what you do. You do the complete opposite of the answers that they just gave on the test. This is what you see right now, and I tell to my young people, let me say this. As long as you need your parents, I think you should listen to your parents. If you don't need them, I can understand why you don't listen as much to them. But when you need them, you should be every bit of listening to them. We're gonna have this conversation, the definition of wealth. We're talking about today, what is wealth? We have a call-in number. Somebody want to call in right now, talk about this particular topic, 516-253-1150. Listen, I'm sitting back every day and watching a culture of people literally dig themselves deeper into debt, thinking that I look like I have money, so therefore I have money. You spend money on things that don't gain value, so you never have money. So the only person that thinks you have money is yourself and the people that don't have money. Most broke people go out their way to try to impress broke people. Because I'm gonna tell you something. When material is overly impressing you, it's because you have a poor mentality. A poor mentality will easily gravitate towards liabilities because it's easier to obtain. Wealthy people go after bigger things that are harder to obtain because it preserves wealth. Look at the narrative. I can go into a car dealership, sign papers, and the same day walk out of that dealership with a car. The same day. Why is that? Because you just acquired a liability. But my question is, why isn't the same process when it comes to acquiring a house? Why isn't it the same process when it comes to acquiring a business? I'm gonna give you a game right now. When you go into a dealership, right, and you sit with that financial, whatever, let's say the financial, what do you call them? The financial, let's say they process the loan. So you go into a dealership, you sit with the financier. What the financier is doing is he's sitting on a computer. And what he's doing on a computer is ultimately selling your loan. So look at this narrative. If you're acquiring a car and you have a loan, the dealer is selling your debt right then and there. Literally, as you're sitting with the financier, they're literally selling your loan to get you the loan. So the car is being actually purchased right then and there. So when you see people walk out with a 20% APRs, 25, 18%, there are banks that are willing to take those high risk situations, right? Because of the fact that they're getting their money before anything. So think about this. Watch this question. If you go into a dealership, you sit with a financial person, they tell you, hey, will get you your car loan. They're processing who will take a risk on you. And the higher risk you are, the higher interest you are. Watch the narrative. I have 3 friends. One friend pays back on time every day. One friend is kind of slow, and one friend don't pay back. Who are you least likely to give money to? The person that don't pay back. Who are you more inclined to give money to? The person that pays back. That is the same narrative of how the bank view you with good credit. When you have good credit and also money in the bank views you as the good friend who's responsible with paying back. So yes, you will get the loan. Me and you can live next door to each other, but yet and still not pay the same interest rate. Why? Because of credit. Credit score matters. We talk about wealth. When you sit here and have these conversations about wealth, a lot of people don't really understand that they have a poor mentality, behaving poor, thinking that they're rich. It's sad. Again, I tell you, I see young people traveling more than people that they live with. They travel more. They buy more shoes. They out to restaurants out more. You know the famous saying they like to say nowadays? I'm outside. They want to be outside. But I think you're broke because you need to be inside. Because when you look at most people, right, how they behave on the outside is how they really feel on the inside. Damn. So you can fool your mind into believing whatever you want, but your reality will always be your reality because your perception has been falsified by your false reality. Your mind is delusional. You're believing whatever you want because of the fact that you're telling yourself that as long as I look like I'm wealthy, therefore I am. But you're not wealthy because you're pretending to be something that you're not. You're not. You're not successful because of the fact that we may struggle look cool in 2024. Struggling is not cool. Let me say that again. We've made struggling look cool in 2024. A lot of people that look like they're wealthy are struggling to look like they're wealthy. Damn. Y'all ain't hear that. Y'all did not hear that. A lot of people that look like they're wealthy are struggling to look like they're wealthy. And the sad part is, with that mentality, they'll never be wealthy or even rich. The definition of wealth, an abundance of valuable possessions of our money. Valuable possessions, meaning assets, right, are money. Let me say that again. Definition of wealth, an abundance of valuable possessions are money, right? That's a definition of wealth, right? Let's go another one. The state of being rich materially, right? Materialistically, right? I tell people all the time, you can have the best car on the road. I would trade the best car on the road to have the best house in the neighborhood. That is 2 different mentalities. Because one wants to be seen as rich and one actually wants to be rich. When you care about your car more than your living situation, you already have a broke mentality. When a car costs more than your living situation, that means you driving your living situation. Damn. That's disgusting. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about that. We in a world right now where it's all about falsifying who you are to create a perception that others you want to believe that you're something you're not. I think it is truly insanity when a person believes that as long as I portray the image of success, therefore I am. You will never be. I asked this question on record, and people on live right now, answer this question. And I want my people in here right now that's in the studio right now to talk about this. If I keep wasting all my money, I'm going to be broke, right? If I keep chasing relationships, I'm going to be broke, right? If I keep buying luxury items, I'm going to be broke. If I keep traveling the world, I'm going to be. So why do we keep doing these things? Because we clearly want to be broke. I'm going to tell you something in life. You cannot outperform bad habits. Humans are naturally creatures of habits. You cannot outperform your bad habits. One that says this, if you're bad with small amounts of money, you will be bad with good, big amounts of money. Let me say it again. If you're bad with little money, you'll be worse with big money. You're not going to get better because you got a better job. You're going to get worse because now you feel like you have more money to do what? Spend. Ultimately doing something called the lifestyle increase. Once your lifestyle increase, you'll realize that you again living paycheck to paycheck again. And that's humans. Once a person start making more money, what they do is their lifestyle catches up to the way they live now. They used to go to one-star restaurants. Now they're at the 4-star restaurants. So initially you would pay $60, $70 to go out to eat. Now you're doing $180, $200. You used to drive a Honda. Now you want a Benz. You used to go on 3-star resorts. Now you want 5 stars. You used to date women that was on your financial level. Now you believe that you could afford to fund a woman's lifestyle. Damn. I genuinely believe, and I'm going to say this on record, that most men are broke because of the fact that they believe they're supposed to be financially taking care of grown-ups. Let me say that again. I genuinely believe that I'm talking about real men, not the bums, not the guys that want to live off mommy and daddy, not those guys. Those are bums. And eventually their circumstances will show. And the reason why I say that is if you have a guy who's in a relationship right now and he's living with his parents and he's not paying bills, the moment him and his woman go live on their own, they're going to do something called drown. They're not going to drown. They're going deeper than the Titanic. We're talking about reality. If you're bad with small amounts of money, you're going to be worse with big amounts of money. I remember one time I was talking to a young man and I said to him, I'm going to tell you something. He said, what? I said, your girl is very expensive. He said, yeah. So right now she's expensive and you don't have to pay for where you live at. He goes, no. I said, so what happens when you know she likes to go out to eat and do all of these things, right? He goes, yes. I said, so next question is, what happens when you got to pay rent, car, food, living, gas, water, and you still got a woman that still want to go out to eat all the time? That's a bad situation, my brother. Damn. That's a bad situation. But again, we think that we're going to outperform. This is not charging. We think for some reason we're going to outperform. It's going down. We're going to outperform our circumstance. But I'm going to tell you something. The ones that come from poverty, right, that grow past poverty, they learn from the things that their parents did wrong. I got a young guy I'm cool with. He comes around me a lot. Sometimes we debate about his mom and how she is with her money. And I told him she did what's best for her because that was her generation. Now it's your job to take the family to the next level. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's about you you have the new energy. So the new energy is supposed to take the family to the next level. If the father worked hard and the son chooses not to work hard, the son is going to take the family back generations. You don't hear me. If the father worked hard and the son doesn't want to work hard, the son will take the family back generations. Not only will he take the family back generations, in his mind he believes that he won't. He believes that he'll be successful, not doing really anything but losing something called time, the most valuable commodity. That's what wealthy people understand. They understand time. Wouldn't it be beautiful if you didn't have to work but still made every dollar you make now without having to work? But the sad part is people believe that they're going to be in that position by doing absolutely nothing but believing that they're going to be in a position. We speak from a biblical standpoint. The Bible says faith without work is dead. That's why a lot of people's finances are dead, because they have faith and they're not willing to do the work. Damn. You ain't hear that. They have the faith, but they're not willing to do the work, but they believe that they're going to be still there. That's a goddamn shame. That's a goddamn shame. We've been programmed to sell our time. I want to ask you a question on my live, and I want you to get this good. Watch this narrative. And I want everybody to say this. Wouldn't it be good if somebody said, yo, I make $50 an hour? That sounds good, right? Oh my God, it's loud. Yes or no? Yes, right? Yes, yes, yes. All my people on the live. It feels good to say I make $50 an hour. That sounds good? I'm just asking a question. Let me get a couple yeses. Let me see what they say. I got yes. Right, let me get like 2 more yeses. Let me see. Somebody laughed. Somebody said yes. Somebody said yes. I'm gonna ask you this question. Watch this. Most people will say that they make $50 an hour. But most people don't want to say I sold the hour of my life for $50. Now when you say it like that, it sounds crazy. I sold the hour of my life for $50. Don't you feel like a cheap whore? And this is what America has done to us. Damn. This is what America has done to us. When you word things that are the same thing, it may sound better than what it is because the way it's worded. Let me say that again. I sold an hour of my life for $50 hurt, but I make $50 an hour sound like a boss when it's the same exact thing. Damn. But we ain't gonna do that. See, I'm here to tell the truth and raise the awareness. You said you make $50 an hour. Feels good. You're the man, you're the woman. But in reality, it's bad. All right, take a look. But this is what we need to understand. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy in terms of money and financial resources. There's an extreme difference. Most people don't want to have the uncomfortable conversations. See, when you ask this question, right, and I want you guys to hear this, most people are broke because they fear of having conversations about them being broke. So therefore, they avoid it, asking if it's going to fix itself. It's never going to fix itself unless you have those uncomfortable conversations. Finance is supposed to make you uncomfortable until it makes you comfortable. Go to your mother and ask how much money she got in the bank. She probably slap you. Go to your father and ask your father how much money we got in the bank. He probably slap you. To those parents, and I'm giving them a round of applause, to those parents that sit their children down and teach them finances and show them their paycheck and show them how they got to make it work, I'll give you a round of applause. I genuinely believe that more children believe that their parents are wealthier than what they truly are. I genuinely believe that more children believe their parents are in better financial situations than they truly are. See, one thing you have to acknowledge is that we've allowed or made a struggle look like it's healthy. You have some of the sickest financial people who walk around like they're the most financially healthy. You could put a Band-Aid on a wound that needs surgery, but yet and still it will sooner or later show or will grow with a deformity. A lot of people's finances is very deformed because yet and still they pretend as if they're in positions they're not. Right? How do you get past financial trauma? Right? How do you get past financial trauma? When you saw mommy and daddy did something completely wrong with their lives, and you repeat the same cycle, I asked this question: who's worse? Mommy, who was the first to not know, or the son or daughter who repeated exactly what they see? The son and daughter. Because I can understand someone that told me they used a substance and didn't know no better. But then you see the generation before did it and you do the same thing, you're the problem. So if my dad abused alcohol, I'm not gonna touch it because I know for a fact what the outcome of it is. If anything, I'll raise the awareness to help people to not do it. See, when you don't know who you are, a person to tell you who you is. And I genuinely feel like right now, a lot of people don't know who they are. So the labels that they put on their bodies make them feel like they're somewhere they're not. When you walk around with those logos, you look like branded cattle. And the sad part is, you only giving money to a plantation that will never give money back to your economical situation. If I said right now I'm selling a t-shirt, then I'm giving every shirt sold, I'm giving 50% of proceeds to bad neighborhoods and getting them more schoolwork and books and computers. Most people won't spend money on that. But I could be Louis Vuitton and say, I'm not gonna give $1 to the black community. And they want to support that because that's a representation of wealth. If I wear something expensive, therefore people will believe that I'm rich. But if you wear something expensive, that means you're trying to keep up the Joneses to me. Because most people are living off of debt in order to acquire a lifestyle. And the sad part is they're not who they're portraying they are. It's all smoking mirrors. Let's talk about this thing called wealth. Look at the narrative. I told a guy last week, I said, look, A person can acquire, and I want somebody to bring this up, Kenzie, $10,000 in debt, minimum payment. Say if I got $10,000 on a credit card and I paid a minimum payment, how many years would it take to pay that off? I know the number. I just want you to see this. Yeah. 15 to 20 years? That's crazy. Look at that again. You got a credit card and you pay the minimum balance on it every single pay period. Because why? It accrues something called interest. So if I took $10,000 out, let's just say hypothetically, I borrowed $10,000 every month, right? They charge me $200 for holding the money. $200. Say my minimum payment is $75. And every month, look at that. I'm down $125 every month. You see that? That's crazy, right? But again, they don't want to have these conversations. When you talk about wealth, right? A lot of people don't understand it takes that person that comes along that is more disciplined than the average bear. It takes that person that has a vision but also willing to execute. It takes that person who's willing to look like the weirdo because everyone else is doing the wrong things. When you go around broke people and you start behaving like successful people, notice they will look at you like you're weird because y'all speaking two different languages. I ask this question all the time to my guys. How many people you know that will walk into a room of people that's not speaking the same language as them but stay in that room? How many people will walk into a room of people who don't speak the same language as them but stay in that room? We always say most will leave, right? And that's why most people are not wealthy, because they leave in the conversations in the rooms they should be in that's teaching them economics and financial literacy. That's right now one of the most poverty thing in America is financial literacy. If I can program my mind to keep wasting its resources on funneling my life, I'm only going to get richer. There are three mentalities versus three mentalities. Watch the three mentalities, Kenzie. 3 versus 3. Employer, landlord, retailer, right? I said it again. Employer, landlord, retailer. Would you say that's a pro or a con? It was a pro. Now watch this. Employee, tenant, consumer. 3 different mentalities. 3 versus 3. These 3 benefit from the negligence of these 3. Are they lack of literacy for these 3? Watch this again. Employer, landlord, retailer. Retailers make money off consumers. Landlord makes money off of tenants. And lastly, employers make money off of employees. So when you understand those 3 versus 3, it depends on what mentality you have. Because you can be a tenant but still have a landlord's mentality. You could be an employee but still have an employer's mentality. You could be a consumer but still have a retailer's mentality. Because last time I checked, there are ways to get things a lot cheaper. That's a smart consumer, right? Shopping on a budget, buying out of season. What's the narrative in winter? You buy summer clothes. Would it be cheaper? Why is it cheaper? It's cheaper because of the fact that more people are buying winter clothes in the winter. Y'all don't hear me. You know what you're going to get called? You're going to get called cheap. But again, I would rather get called cheap by a broke person than being called rich. Hold on, let me say that again. I would rather be called cheap by a broke person than rich by someone that's not rich either. I would rather someone look at me like, look, he don't got it, than he do have it. Because most people that look like they have it, they don't have it. Let's just call it what it is. But again, if you say this, we go on record and get upset. A lot of us are very insecure for truth. We don't like to hear anything against what we want to believe. And the sad part about belief is, you can make yourself believe whatever you want. I would rather go in a room full of people who are working towards a dream than stay in a room full of people who are talking about what coulda, shoulda, woulda been. I'll go in a room full of people that's failing, right? But trying, than staying in a room full of people that's not even willing to try anything new. I learned in society today, we're such an insecure culture that we allow ourselves to stay in insecure situations. And the only thing that makes most people feel secure is by being attached to someone. If they're not attached to someone, they don't feel successful. And you see that wholeheartedly. Most people believe that I don't have to have anything, but if I can get a girl, what do most men say? I'm lit. If a woman that's broke, in most cases, broke women don't think they're broke. They think they're dating the wrong men. Damn. Let me say that again. Broke women don't think that they're broke. They think that they're dating the wrong men. Yeah, I know that lost y'all. Because that's a whole fact. Broke women do not think they're broke. They're thinking they're dating the wrong men. Because when you have these conversations, you'll see that people will point the finger at others, but won't see how they're misbehaving with the lack of what they already have. If I work well with the little that I have, my little will eventually grow bigger. But if I misbehave with the little I have, it will never grow. Because a garden can only grow as big as the way, as much as you take care of it. And finances is equivalent to like having a garden. Are you willing to water it, nurture it, and take care of it? There's a statement. It says, I told you this earlier. Hold on one second. It talks about wealth. When you learn that people that have money, they're the most disciplined people on earth. One day, a guy said to me, let me borrow $100. I said, why would I do that? He said, because you got it. I said, if I act like you with it, I won't have it. I only have it because I don't act like you. So when you look at it like the most people that have money, we're talking about people that got it out the mud that started from scratch. In order to get it, you got to learn how to behave with it. If you continue to misbehave with what you have, you're going to always be subject to be in the negative. Right? Watch this. If I got $10 and I spent 5, this is math now. What did I just do? I subtracted, right? I went down 5. If I get $10 and I put $5 on top of it, I just added $5, right? The whole concept is you want to stay away from dividing your money and subtracting your money. You want to be multiplying your money and adding your money. There are 4 people. Most people either A, divide their money and subtract their money, while the wealthy multiply their money and add their money. They stay on the other side of the spectrum. Broke people stay on the side of the spectrum of spending money, believing that I'm gonna have money, but you keep wasting money. Some of the brokest people can find ways to find money to waste, but they can't find money to invest. Some of the brokest people can find money to waste, but they cannot find money to invest. When you learn that job that you say you hate every single day, why do you keep wasting the money so you got to go back? Damn. That don't make no damn sense. You're sitting here telling me right now you're tired of your job. You don't want to do the job anymore. There's only one way to get off of this. Well, 2 ways. Either A, go get another job, or B, invest in your money so you can go to your job less and less and less. But when you have these conversations, most people won't do that. They'll fund money. I told a guy the other day, I said, it's crazy. You save money all year to go on trips, but you don't save money all year to invest. I would rather put money in Apple stock than I'd rather put money in Jamaica. I would rather buy Tesla stock, right, than go buy a vehicle. I'd rather buy Apple stock, and then my Apple stock will buy me my computer, my desktop. That's $1,000 profit that I made. right? They pay for my phone. So there was this young Asian kid that I met, and he said something so amazing to me. He said, yo, Q, I buy a lot of Nike stock. And I said, why? He said, because I like Nike. And I said, that's smart. He said, Nike's not going out of style. It's not going anywhere. I said, which is true. He said, every year, there's 4 quarters in a year. Every quarter is 3 months. 3, 6, 9, 12, which give you your full year. Every year, the companies that pay out something called dividends pays you out 4 times. They pay you out once each quarter. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, for every 1 share of Nike you own, they give you 75 cents, right? Let's do the math. Tyler, let's say $200, divide that by 75 cents. Tell me what we have to, how many shares do we have to have in order to be able to buy a pair of Nikes every single quarter? He's telling me right now, hold on. So you have to have 266 shares of Nike. So you'll make $200. I'm just saying this is hypothetical. I don't know what they pay out on a dividend. Find out for me, somebody, real fast, so we can be more precise. Because somebody going to be like, they don't pay out 79 cents. You know, people would just be so extra. But what I'm getting at is, look at that narrative. How much does Nike pay out in a dividend? Okay. $1.48 per share. So $1.48 per share, it says, right? So do the math. If I want $200, how many shares do I have to have? $1.48? So for every 1 share of Nike you have, they give you a dividend every quarter of $1.48. And every quarter? Okay, so for the full term, annually. Okay, so it's $1 annually. That's the whole calendar. Okay, that's what to get it right. So real fast, if you have, so let's just say for the year, let's say we're gonna go with the 39 cents, so 266 shares. So if I got 266 shares, I could literally buy a pair of Jordans every 3 months for free by allowing my money to stay in Nike. I think that's a goal someone should work towards because of the fact that it's not saying you shouldn't want the nice things in life. It's about how are you acquiring the nice things in life. Either A, are you killing yourself to get liabilities? Are you buying yourself wealth with your assets? So again, you can go to the dealership and buy a car. I can go to the dealership and buy a car. When you look at the fact that, let's just say I make $20 an hour. Let's say my car note is $600. Do the math. My car note is $600. It's actually gonna be higher nowadays, but let's say $600. And say my insurance is another $2, where we at $800. Let's say my car note is $6, my insurance is $2, and now let's go further. Let's say I spend about $300 a month in gas. Where we at? $1,100, divide that by 20. You gotta make 55 hours of your life to pay for that car. And that's without taxes. So if you make $20 an hour, you have to sell 55 hours of your life in order to keep getting that car paid. The note, the insurance, the gas. Sound like a slave. Damn. And you want to know the sad part about that car? Every day, every month, your car is going like this. It's losing value every single day. The worst thing to do is be a slave to liabilities. That is the worst thing a person can do. I watched my culture as a black man, I'm gonna say this on record, literally slave for liabilities. They waste all of their resources on looking like they have money, never acquiring money. But it's like you got guys that'll cry about maintaining a luxury vehicle when they don't understand that you wanted the luxury vehicle. When you go out and go pick up these things at these dealers, you gotta realize that what it comes with maintaining it. Most people don't understand in a year you got about four different payments on a car. Gas, insurance, note, and the big M. maintenance. Every time you drive these cars, you're beating up the car, right? So you have to do what? Maintain it. So when you listen to these things, I tell people all the time, sometimes it may make sense for you to take public transportation and invest that money for 3 years, and literally that investment will pay for the car that you want. Ego pride. See, right now I'm teaching my son. The reason why I force him to save, I'm gonna say something, I don't care if he get mad, he be all right. If I didn't force you to save, when money got a little tight, you would have been screwed. But I keep explaining to him about rainy days. They come often. But thanking God that you have a father who's looking beyond the horizon at your future. Because most young people live so in the moment that they don't understand that life is beyond moments. Life has days to come that you can't foresee. And when you can't foresee life, you behave in the moment, realizing that you never prepared for the future. And if you don't plan for the future, then you plan to fail. And most people fail to plan, so therefore they're going to fail. So I tell them all the time, like, look, you make money, you have to pay yourself first. Your first employee is always yourself. If I don't pay myself first, and I'm paying my money out to my debts, right? That means I am a slave to the debtors, but not realizing that where is the money that you're saving for yourself? If every time I put money out on things that don't do anything for me, that means I'm stuck, right? Somebody said as we get older, we recognize and we teach. Agreed, 100%. What's going on, guys? Life is not promised, also has to be a balance. I agree, 100% balance, but a lot of y'all don't live in balance. Y'all drag it. And the reason why I can say that to be true because of the fact that blacks having a net worth by zero by 2053 says volumes. We're dragging it. I think some people need to sacrifice some years of their life. Your young years, your most prominent years should be working very hard, saving you a lot of money, so therefore you can put yourself in a great position. I genuinely believe that. Someone has to be the sacrificial lamb. Otherwise, you're going to continue to run this race, realizing that every week you're selling 50 hours of your life, which is 200 hours a month. Times that by 12. 200 times 12 is what? Say it again. 2,400 hours a year you're selling of your life to maintain your life. 2,400 hours. How many hours in a day? 24, right? Times that by 365. 8,000 hours in a year. It's 8,700? 760 hours in a year. That's how many hours you have, right? That's between sleeping. That's between spending time with your family. That's between spending time with your girl. That's between spending time at your job. That's between doing everything that you have to do. When you look at that 8,000 hours, right? 360 hours left. 6,000. So when you really look at it, is you're selling your time, right? What do you consider time? We said, somebody just wrote me, what do you consider wealth? I consider freedom to do what you love every day and afford to be able to do it, not being a slave to a liability. You have people that have a home and they say that they have a home, but yet still they'll be mortgage broke. I put one of my young guys on and I told him, you should rent out your basement. He was like, why? I said, because if you do the math, take out a calculator. I'm in New York State, guys, so I'm going off of my numbers. The average basement in New York State right now is anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month. So let me put you in the medium at $1,750. So let's put you in the middle at $1,750. That's $1,750 a month that you're making for a basement apartment. Times that by 12. That's $21,000 a year that you'll be able to invest by giving away your basement. He said, I never thought about that. I said, because you're not taught how to think wealthy. So you know what you do? What we do? We behave very poor. Because it's weird that we'll look at someone who's broke and we'll do exactly what they do, thinking we're going to be rich. This is a mentality, right? We got to stop buying brand. and work to buy the company. We got to stop buying brands and work to buy the company. The companies that you admire, Ferrari, Lamborghini, you can literally put your money into these companies. There's a guy I know, right? His name is Michael. Michael just bought a penthouse apartment in Manhattan. And I said, how did this guy, he's 30 years old, how he did this? His grandfather has been passing on stocks to his dad. His dad passed stocks on to him, and he just bought an asset in Manhattan. And I'm like, this is crazy. But I'm like, it's not crazy when a person has a long-term mentality and think about the next generation after them. But it's sad when you're trying to think about the next generation after you, but the generation that's after you don't give a damn. That's really the problem. So sometimes we say we can't build wealth. You can't build the wealth with an unwealthy mentality. Your successor could be a loser. Your successor could want to lose. I'm being honest. The person that comes behind you, which could be your daughter, your son, they could not want to win because they don't realize that they're only successful because of the fact that you're alive. But when you take that last heartbeat, they'll realize instantly, life just got real. See, there's a difference between wealthy and frugal. We always talk about people being frugal. No, excuse me, cheap. Right? Wealthy people are very frugal, meaning they spend within means. They live within means, they behave within their means, and they buy based on what they need. When you become a person that's so adamant about what you want, you'll never be satisfied. Think about how often your wants change. If you continue to chase wants, you'll see that you'll always be broke because you'll never stop wanting. But your needs have to be met. It is beautiful when one of my guys, he owns a laundromat, and he makes about $10,000 a month after all expenses. $10,000 a month. If you do that math right now, 10,000 divided by 4. $2,500. I mean, he makes $2,500 a week doing nothing. $2,500 a week doing nothing. He said all his expenses is $5,000. Every month, he has $5,000 to play with because he made a sacrifice. No PhD, no doctrine, just financial maturity. He makes $60,000 a year doing nothing. Excuse me, maintaining a business. I have to say that because sometimes when we say doing nothing, anytime you have to maintain something, you have to still do something in order to maintain it, right? Your body's not gonna stay fit if you don't. The body don't stay fit if you don't go to the gym, right? When we talk about this term frugal, a lot of times people call people frugal. Oh, he's cheap. He mad cheap. In order to be successful in the beginning, you have to be very cheap. I'm gonna go on record and say this to my men. I want y'all to hear this. When you're pursuing the greatest version of yourself, you have to be very, 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 very selfish. And the reason why you have to be selfish is because when you look at this, when you break up out of a relationship, 9 out of 10 times, who lose the most resources? Men. So when you look at all that time you wasted, that you'll never get back the resources that you could have invested in stocks, you could have been invested in your life. Now, when your life is real, you're going to realize that you're broke and you've been broke. But the fact of the matter is, you were able to stay up because of the fact that somebody was sustaining you. It's like having on a belt and believing that your pants only fit because of the belt. But if you take off the belt, what happens? And that's the same thing with our children with their parents, right? As their income increases, they choose to keep their lifestyle simple and save and invest in the difference in order to avoid falling victim to the phenomenon of lifestyle inflation. This is why people are frugal, because they don't need to keep up with the Joneses. When you got to keep up with the Joneses, you're going to make sure, you're going to realize that you cannot keep up with the Jones. I know people that chase fashion. Fashion changes so much that you can never keep up with it. You can literally go buy a pair of Balmain jeans and then fast forward tomorrow, Balmain is played out. You paid thousands of dollars on jeans. Let's say you had a good summer. You spend $10,000 on jeans. And now the following summer, those jeans ain't worth nothing. Give me a pair of Levi's and I'm good. I'm good. $50 jeans, I don't care about that crap because it don't do nothing, right? There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy in terms of money and financial resources. Being rich typically means having a lot of possessions and material wealth. Being wealthy is more about having sustainable and long-lasting wealth. We say that is not possible. But in order to create wealth, one must teach a mentality to be successor of the generation before. If you don't teach the next generation to think equivalent or greater than you, that means all the work the last generation has done has failed and went undone or untouched. And that's what you're continuously seeing. You're seeing people work hard to give their children more, and their children will grab the baton and run backwards. Damn. But again, when you had these conversations, someone call in right now, 516 253 1150. One more time, 516 253 1150. Let me say it again, 516 253 1150. Bring up that chart again. I want y'all to hear this chart, right? You'll figure it out when you get older. That's what they say, right? You'll figure it out when you get older. I hate when people say, yo, leave the young people alone. They'll figure it out when they get older. A lot of times now that I'm that older guy, I realize that is cap. Most older guys never figure it out because there was no reason to figure it out, and most people stop learning after a certain age. So therefore, when they're younger, it is more feasible to teach the youth economics than it is when they're older. Most older people get complacent, content, and comfortable in their ways, continuously behaving as the ways they were, having the same results. A lot of older people are mentally insane. They do the same thing every day, but expect different results. And now our youth are inheriting the same mentality, doing the same thing every day, but expecting different results. Let's have this conversation. Look, it says the income by ethnicity. I want y'all to hear these numbers. When I read this chart, it bothered me. Can we make the chart a little bigger? Little. I want y'all to hear this, right? I want y'all to hear this. Indian Americans, they say, okay, let me just read what this is. It says median household incomes by ethnicity in the U.S. Median, the middle, right? Ethnicity, I want you to hear this. Indian Americans, $152,341. Filipino Americans, $109,000. Asian Americans, $106,000. Chinese Americans, $101,000. Russian Americans, $98,000. European Americans, $96,000. Australian Americans, $95,000. Japanese Americans, $94,000. British Americans, $90,000. Italian Americans, $90,000, right? German Americans, $83,000. Canadian Americans, $82,000. White Americans, $79,000. Nigerian Americans, $78,000. Brazilian Americans, $73,000. Mexican Americans, $66,000. Hispanic and Latin Americans, $65,000. The average American, $63,000. Native Americans, $58,000. African Americans, $51,000, rounding off the lowest of the financial totem pole. $51,000. Damn. So when we have this conversation, I talk about the way we misbehave with our finances. We see why we're at the financial totem pole. We're a financial joke when it comes to the decisions that we make. I'm a guy that's doing okay with my life, and I'm very conscious of my spending. I'll go to a restaurant and see a kid I know that works at Target at a 5-star eatery because he's trying to impress a girl. And I'm looking at him like, you believe you're going to be able to keep up this lifestyle to maintain this girl? Do you know the average American makes about $50,000 a year. $50,000 a year. That's before rent, food, water, gas, and everything. Let's say your rent is $1,500. 1,500 times 12 is what? I will show you. 1,500 times 12 is what? 1,500 times 12. 1,500 times 12 is 18,000 a year, 50,000 right there going. And remember I said this, that's 50,000 pre-taxed. So technically you take about $38,000, $40,000 home. So when you have these conversations, the wealth that's not being built is because of the fact that we're not building anything. Yes. When you had this conversation, a lot of people get offended when you talk about finances. Somebody I suggested that you go home and say, Mommy, how much money you make? Dad, how much money you make? I think if they tell you, you respect the fact that they rubbing pennies together to make it make sense. When we look at our materialistic ways, this is the reason why we won't be ever wealthy. Materialistic things are preventing us from getting substantially ahead. If you're rich, you may be liquid of depreciating assets. If you're rich, you may buy liquid or depreciating assets, right? For example, you may purchase high-end sports cars or designer clothes. You can afford to buy expensive things, but these purchases don't produce income, and you can love or lose value over time. By contrast, wealthy people tend to think about the long term. That's what makes wealthy people wealthy and broke people broke. Most people spend money thinking in the moment, not the long term. Ultimately being broke because of the fact that they did not plan of what is to come. I asked this question to a young guy the other day, and I want y'all to answer this. If we go to a theater and we watch a movie, the next day you ask me to go to the same movie theater and watch the same movie, do I know the ending of the movie? Why? You said, yes, I've seen it already. That's the same thing I try to tell young people when I'm watching their life. I've seen you already, and I already know what your results are going to be. And they genuinely believe that they're going to be the exception to the rule, realizing that the rule was bigger than them being the exception. In order to be the exception to the rule, you got to be something different. You got to run faster than the average man, fly out the gym. If you are average Joe, if you behave very financially responsible, you will no longer be the average Joe. The average that are successful are the ones who are willing to do what the average aren't willing to do. The average that are unsuccessful are the ones who follow the same formula of the average, thinking that they're going to be more than average. This is the logic. 1 + 1 = 2. If I'm an average guy, I do more than what the average is willing to do, I'm going to have a better level than the average person. But if I'm average and I do exactly what average are going to do, I'm going to also be either under or fall equivalent to average. It's just what it is. We got to keep in mind that this thing called wealthy, right? You can't be stuck in the past. In order to acquire wealth, you have to plan your future out. You got to think about, what is the next move with my money? When I look at that story, you ever see that show Minions? Minions? That's what I see money as. They're minions. The more minions you employ, the more money you have. I take my money, right, and I invest it. So therefore, my minions are going out to get me more money. You ever look at like a beehive or an ant hive? What does the king or the queen do? They stay in the hive or in the ant farm, right? And who goes out and go get the money for them or the food for them? The workers. That is the same thing as a job plantation. They sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And they said, the fruits of my labor? No, the fruits of your labor. Some people own companies that don't even have skills to do the job that the employers that they have can do. Some people, listen to this. You got guys who own flooring companies and they don't even know how to do flooring. You got people who don't know how to install windows but own a window company. You have people who own car rental stores who can't even drive. But these people are wise enough to understand that there will always be someone here to spend money as long as you can create it. There was a scenario, a guy said, I may not went to Harvard or Yale, but I can damn sure employ somebody that went to Harvard and Yale. Poor people think day to day. Not so poor people think week to week. Let me say it again. Poor people think day to day. Not so poor people think week to week. Middle class people think month to month or check to check. Rich people think year to year. And the last one is, I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this last one. Right? Wealthy people think decade to decade. But I'm going to tell you something. Before I get out of here today, an unwealthy mind will continue to behave unwealthy, never creating wealth for its family. The greatest thing a man or a woman can do is feed their family with their sacrifices from their graveyard. When you understand what I just said, the wisest and the wealthiest person is the person that can feed their family from the graveyard based on the decisions that they've made. There are people who inherited homes, they're paying crumbs on mortgages because their grandmother is feeding them from their grave, and their grandfather is feeding them from the grave. There are a lot of people, when they die today, their children will suffer because no one was willing to make the sacrifices. Understand, there's a difference between pretending to be wealthy and actually building wealth. In order to build wealth, I learned how to think long term. Poor mentalities think very short term. Break this mentality. There's no one stopping you from being successful besides the way you think. Till next time, don't let that go over your head.